All right, what's up guys? It's Bromley from Empire Barbell, and today I'm gonna make this a quick one. I just wanna go over 3 dynamic stretches that I use to try and get myself ready for a lower body day. Now, I myself have not practiced good self-maintenance over the years. I'm a little broken in a lot of ways. I've had a lot of injuries, and I'm constantly trying to improve mobility and flexibility so I can get into proper positioning without all the aches and pains and grandpa noises that I normally make. So I'm gonna give a little disclaimer here. I'm at the beginning end of the process of getting from point A to point B as far as becoming a little less broken, a little more healthy, a little more mobile. If you are looking for a demonstration by somebody who has already mastered mobility and self-maintenance, look away, because this is not that. These are just things that I find have helped me, and I'll probably update my progress a little bit as time goes on. I've already gotten a lot of benefit out of them. But I know over the years, especially the way I lift, I've really glued myself to the compound movements and the way that I've developed. I've gotten very tight through my glutes and hips. I've gotten very tight through my shoulders, through my lats. These are things that I'm trying to work on. So without further ado, these are my big 3 for lower body. I always start out with about 2 to 3 minutes on the air bike. I don't go that hard. I just find a couple minutes of pedaling gets blood in the knees and the hips without really gassing me out, which is it's a nice added benefit, and it makes stretching a little bit easier. You don't want to stretch cold. The first thing I always do is a windmill. Now, a windmill, I like it because it gets a little bit of my glutes and a lot of my hammies, and it feels less like a stretch and more like an exercise, which I guess it is, but it makes it a little easier to do religiously and to actually try to improve on day to day. So I found I've gotten a lot more benefit from that. So with a windmill, what you're gonna do, get your feet nice and wide apart. You're gonna point your toes away from whatever arm is supporting the weight, okay? And with that elbow locked, that arm overhead, the idea is to push your hip back and turn to support that weight over you as you slowly and carefully get as close to the ground as you can. Now, what you wanna see, ideally, the back and front legs staying a little straight. You don't wanna squat or lunge too much into it. And you gotta keep your shoulder packed, you gotta keep your elbow locked, and you really have to balance. I actually like to kind of look up and back. First few times I did this, I felt some muscles in my shoulder working that I did not know I had. And it's actually done quite a bit for improving my shoulder health a little bit, which I'm not mad at. So starting out, seriously, go with a 5 or 10 pound dumbbell or no weight at all, and then be very conservative with weight jumps. But right here, I'll start with a 15 pounder. Okay, elbow locked. I'm pushing my hips back. I'm trying to keep that front leg as straight as I can. So right there, I already feel a lot of those muscles around my scapula. I get a little bit lower and I stand up, and that's 1 rep. And I'll go for several reps, getting a little more range each time before I switch, and then I'll jump a little bit of weight. This is more about control and tempo and stability than it is about weight, but striving for those jumps, like I said, it makes it a little more palatable to the average lifter. And I've noticed that as I've been able to go up in weight, my shoulder's a little more stable, I can move a little bit better, and I'm a little more flexible. And it's a good way to kind of get limber for squatting and deadlifting or whatever other events I might be doing that day without blowing myself out. So this is a favorite of mine. The next one I like to go into is a Cossack Squat. Now again, it's like indirectly working the hamstrings, a bit of a hamstring stretch. You'll get it quite a bit in your groin, but it's also it's a light squat variation, and it allows me to, again, get the knees and hips mobile and warmed up, and I get to progress each time without necessarily feeling like I'm holding this long stretch that's lasting an eternity. Again, because it's a dynamic stretch, we're going back and forth, we're moving through the stretch, we're not just holding this static stretch, right? So you're not really gonna get the loss of power development that you get. If you do a long stretch that goes beyond 20 or 30 seconds, what you'll find is that that muscle can't really produce quite as much power. People use that as an excuse. I've been guilty of it, of not stretching as much as they should, because I'm not gonna stretch, I gotta squat today, I gotta hit a PR, I gotta be strong. So what you should be doing are holding those long stretches after the workout and always striving to go a little longer and reach a little bit farther. But you just have to make sure you're not doing a 2-minute stretch on your hammies right before you squat. As long as you're not doing that, you're gonna be fine. But the misguided idea of trying to get stronger, so I'm gonna slack on self-maintenance, it's a mistake a lot of us have made. That's not going to get you very far. Staying injury-free, staying healthy, that's way more important than getting a percent extra power on any given workout. So there's plenty of strong guys that are mobile. So with the Cossack Squat, again, groin and hammies, I'm gonna get my feet nice and wide. Actually, the wider the better, because if you're not wide enough, you won't be able to keep that leg straight as you come back. The idea is, think of it almost as a pistol. You're gonna move over to one leg. We're squatting onto one leg. And as we move onto that one leg, you're gonna turn up on your heel. You're gonna point that toe up, and you're gonna strive to keep this foot on the ground. Now, I am very tight. I already feel that through my groin. Balancing's a little bit tricky. The more mobile I would be, the more upright I'd be able to stay. But you see, I gotta kind of contort myself. And then I'm gonna push up and away and go on to that other knee as I come down. Now this knee gives me a little trouble, so I tend to have a little more trouble in the beginning getting down. If you have a little bit of trouble with that, just hold on to a post. This makes it a lot easier. So there's no excuse for not doing it. Again, feet nice and wide. See, this allows me to stay a little bit more upright. And then ideally, I would be able to hold that without falling over, which I can't quite yet. Like I said, it's a work in progress, right? The last thing that I like to do and again, dynamic stretching, these are static holds, we're moving continuously through a range of motion, is a Jefferson Curl. Now, you'll notice all of these have to do with my hamstrings. I have horrendously tight hamstrings, and actually as my squat starts to grow, my glutes get very tight too. So I'll follow this up with a bit of foam rolling, maybe get a lacrosse ball into my glutes to make sure they're kind of moving properly. But my hammies are the really bad ones, and historically that's put a lot of strain on my lower back and led to a lot of back injuries. So the Jefferson Curl, this is the one that really gets them. Basically what we're doing, think of a toe touch stretch. Your legs are locked, and the idea is to really articulate the vertebra. So you're getting each little bone in your spine to kind of move one by one. Knees are locked the entire time, and you're moving down, down, down as low as you can. And then you get to the bottom range of motion, and you're uncoiling your spine until you stand up at the top. So you get a lot of motion through your vertebra. Your upper and mid back gets loosened up a little bit. You find you can move a little bit better. But each time you go back down, you do these for reps. Each time you go back down, you try to reach a little farther, always keeping the knees locked. And again, as time goes on, especially with the load, you get a little more range, a little more range, a little more range. And you'll find your positioning on these other lifts gets a little bit better. It's gonna be easier to brace while you move, right? You don't have these angry, tight hamstrings torquing on your hips, trying to pull you out of position as you come down on a deadlift or a squat. So it's much more optimal. On an off day, you might do a lot more sets of these and even chase a little more weight. As a warm-up, you don't have to go heavy. I just use a 20-pound kettlebell. You'll see people doing these on a box, okay? Those assholes are a lot better at this than I am, so they can actually get the weight down past the plane of their feet. I can barely tie my shoes, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it on the ground because the box is a little extra right now. Okay, so I like to start with my head. I'll move my chin down, okay, and then I let my chest collapse. Feel my shoulders roll forward, again, knees locked. Now I'm rolling into my mid back. My lower back is fused pretty well from years of overarching on my deadlifts and squats. I've already done a video on that. So this, I actually try to get a little bit of a round in my lower back. Again, we're articulating the vertebra, and already I feel scar tissue, I feel resistance, and I'm getting as low as I can comfortably, and then back up, again, squeezing the glutes, vertebra, I'm rolling up like a snake, cobra coming out of a basket, and then I roll up that last bit up through my shoulders, feel some things crack, head back. That's one rep. 3 to 5 of those, and I get so much more range of motion, and I feel so much more prepared to go into my lifts. Even this, I didn't even cycle, I just did this demonstration. I already feel ready to squat right now. It's like 35 degrees in here. So remember guys, flexibility is important. Flexibility, mobility, whatever the hell you want to call it, you have to be able to move better, and you should be aggressively seeking that end out with everything you do. Some misguided attempt to optimize your numbers that day is not a good enough excuse to skip out on self-maintenance. So this is a 1-2. It gets me warmed up, it gets me ready for what I'm about to do, but it also is kind of chipping away at that brush that I've developed in my backyard, which I call shitty mobility. So every time I get through this, I feel a little bit better, I move a little bit better, and I'm a little less likely to fall apart, which I've already gone through that phase. I'm done with that. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions or any recommendations, what do you guys do to get ready for lower body day? Go ahead and leave it in the comments, and I will respond ASAP. Thanks again, guys. This is Bromley from Empire Barbell. Until next time, I'll see you.